just wanna be free with my people to prosper and hold it down. Don't you sit and wait, contemplating on a revolution. The time is now. I just wanna be free. 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 Can't you see? I just wanna be free.
Okay. Another episode of the Things I Wish I Knew About Money podcast. I'm your host, Camille Smith. Ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, this is a premiere, but that is a-okay because we're still going to be celebrating the first of the month. Hey, it's the first of the month. I always wanted to do that, and I'm glad that today is the day where I'm able to do it. It is December. It is my birthday month, first of all. And today, folks, we have a special guest here. And we've been talking offline, and it's been ecstatic so far. So I want to bring on a lovely guest that I've been trying to get on from time. I'm joking. Welcome, Chris-Beth.
Hey,
how are you?
I am well. I know I owe you a earlier meeting. I do apologize, but I'm so happy to be here with you and your crew.
Yes. And it's an honor because, man, how long have we known each other?
I want to say before the pandemic, definitely.
Yes.
How long has it been? So we've been in the building 3 years. So
3 years. Okay.
Yeah, or 4 years. This will be our 4th year. And I know you have been working with Derek.
Yes.
But yeah, I feel so ACBN has been in existence before that. So I feel like I knew you in name and we probably exchanged some emails.
Yes.
Through Ryan.
And then we finally were able to meet.
Yes.
You're right. Because I started with Derek. Big up Derek, by the way. 2020. No.
Okay.
2021. 2021.
Okay. Yes.
I met Derek. And so there was a day where I came by and you were in the office and we finally were able to personally meet.
Yes.
Because we've only met virtually.
Yes.
Crazy how the world works.
I know. But I want to say, you are such a phenomenal person, and the level of value and quality of work that I have seen and heard, you are the money person people need to come to get it right. So I shall big up to you.
Hey, and because folks, if you haven't noticed, we have worked together. So we did in the summertime. Yes. I was able to be talking about personal finance, bookkeeping, and I think there's something coming up in the woodwork soon again.
Yes, of course. Listen, we want to bring financial literacy to our community. So I am also one of the co-founders of ACBN, which is the Afro-Caribbean Business Network. And that's a huge focus. Even for empowered community, we try to really rally folks across. You need to know this about your money.
Yes.
Or you're in trouble.
And just for the folks that don't know you, because if you don't know ACBN, where have you been? What rock have you been under? Especially if you're a business. If you're a business, you should know about ACBN. But also you have Empowered 4X. So before we talk about Empowered 4X, who is Chris-Beth?
That is a beautiful question. And as I was sitting and thinking about it, I'm like, where do I start? Do we have all day?
Of course we do.
To keep it short, sweet, and simple, I would say, first off, I'm a child of God. I believe that without my faith, I am nothing. In those moments when I used to struggle with, insecurities, the lies, the negativity in the brain, I found hope and joy in that way. So I like to start there. I'm an entrepreneur. I consider myself a social serial entrepreneur. That being said, like the core businesses, really looking at Empowered for X, which is a business and training consulting firm. We have a youth entrepreneurship arm of what we do. There's some what else? Uh, car rental. There's businesses, right? And I feel the vision that I have for myself when it comes to business is to really be a mogul, if I can put that word to me, like a business mogul.
Yes.
But in the day-to-day stuff, I see myself as a business strategist. The space where I really lean into is around social enterprise. But really, people come with an idea and they leave with, having worked with us for 6 months. I remember my first client, 6 months. He's like, in 6 months, I want to leave my 9 to 5 and start this cleaning business. And we did it in 4.
Wow.
And he was just like on top of the world, right? So helping people start businesses, helping people organize businesses and looking to scale. That's why I love. I'm an adventurer and a philanthropist as well. I love the world. I love to travel. I think the end of this year, I probably would be to 15 countries or unique spaces. By, how can I say it, mid next year, I'll probably be to 21. So I'm really excited about that.
Time out. This is within this year or just overall?
No. So since birth to this date, 15. And then next, you could knock off a couple countries by going on cruises. So I am due for a cruise, so I could say I've been here.
That's true. That's how I've been able to knock out.
I love the sand, the seas. Yes. And then the last thing I would say, I love community. I love people. So helping and giving is kind of at my core as well.
Nice. Okay, you know what? We're gonna afterwards we're gonna see how many countries it's been, because I want to say I have that many as well. It's just that when you said 15 and then 21 by the mid of next year, I'm like, hold on. That means you're like traveling like crazy while you're working, which is amazing, right?
Hey, you build a business the right way, you have the flexibility to play the right way too.
That is very true. That is very true. I love you.
And I can talk to you about my initial, from when I first started my business, I was the bottleneck. And over time, really realizing that the power of team and with people on board, you could do different things, and the type of work as well, right? Like I was able to go home to spend some time, and home for me is Trinidad and Tobago.
Double.
Yes, Trinity to the bone. Yes. But I was able to spend 6 weeks in Trinidad with my grandma last year into this year. So I left December 7th and came back January 28th or something like that.
Yeah.
And the nature of my work, thank God for Zoom. I was Zooming my way through those 6 weeks, right? Remote work. It's just the nature of the work that I do that gives me some flexibility as well.
Nice. And I'm glad that, having family time as well, bonding with your grandma and just being able to be virtual and be remote, that's very key. I know there's going to be some folks that listen to this and they're like, well, I can't do that. Fair. However, I'm pretty sure that you've helped businesses scale into a point of just the 9 to 5 and moving from 9 to 5 to a business and being able to get rid of that within 4 months instead of 6 months. That's amazing.
4 months.
That's amazing that you're able to help someone scale that much. So so what's the process when it comes to that? So and that was your first client. That's actually really big. Again,
yeah, that was back in 2016. My first corporate client, like, looking to build an enterprise. It was a cleaning business. And really
Okay.
the hope and the dream for that person was, you know, I want to do something independent. I want to move away from my 9 to 5. And yeah, we started. What's the idea? He said, I have a passion for cleaning. And we explored, is it corporate cleaning, is it residential, and based on when you're starting out, and I've learned a lot over the years too. A lot of people sometimes just say, I have a business, I'm gonna put all of my hard-earned savings into it and stuff, and I tell people, whoa, scale back a little. Let's go test the market to ensure that you have a pipeline, right?
True.
And so through even then, that mindset and thinking was, yeah, you need a customer. If you don't have money in your business, we were talking earlier, payroll, rent, everything coming out today, you got to be thinking about those dollars and cents in a real way.
Absolutely.
So when we worked with him, it was, really clarifying the idea, identifying the customer, and then it's about doing the work. People
Yes,
just say, I have an idea. My customer is, and I ask them, what have you done today to reach your customer? Crickets.
Oh dear.
I once had a business coach and he asked me the same question. ChrisBeth, in the last week, how many people did you talk to about your business? And at the time I was like, maybe 3.
Yeah.
And he said, is this a business or a hobby? Right? So you got to make a decision what you're working towards. And so his philosophy was 10 people before 10 a.m. And honestly, I feel like I will be honest, I'm not practicing that discipline now, but there was a season of my life where I was doing that and the results are telling. Okay. You get results.
Okay. Trust the process, right?
Trust the process. Trust the process.
That's, and you know what? It's funny that you say that because a lot of, when you hear like coaches, mentors, and coaches and mentors ask you that question, it's really difficult because you're like, no, this is not a hobby. I really want to take it serious. And it's like, are you really taking it serious? And you mentioned the discipline of being able to do 10 before 10 a.m. Jeez, that's wild. and I want to say that
Tedious stuff.
Tedious stuff, yes, but serious stuff that needs to be done. And like, if you follow anyone on like LinkedIn or the successful folks, they really do stress about discipline and having a certain system to be able to make things work. And I know when it comes to your business, I find that you have many impactful roles. So we want to know all the ones that you have.
Again, too many to count. But I will tell you this, and part of my own growth and scaling over the past couple years, I found myself going wide versus deep, right? And a coach needs a coach, a mentor needs a mentor, and I invest in those people so that I can produce and give value to the clientele I work with. So my main role at Empowered Facts is the CEO of the company. However, really overseeing a lot of the day-to-day operations in some contexts as well. One of the things that, my key role, as I said, I like to do the speaking and training. So Camille, I know you've come to our community and share a lot of wisdom around financial topics. I'm oftentimes sharing this in the areas of social enterprise development, marketing and operations, and business strategy as a whole, right? Being in leadership in business. The team stuff is at the core. Like the book that really changed my business journey over the years is the E-Myth by Michael Gerber. I don't know if you know it.
I have that book. I have that book.
A must read. Have
I
you
have
read
to
it?
read it again. I have to read it again because Christopher Lawrence was the reason why I big up frequency event promotions as well. Um, he was the reason why I read that book because we had a book club.
Okay,
Dang
okay.
it! Now I'm gonna have to
Listen,
go
trust
back
me.
and read that.
Listen, the book, I think the key things, there's some nuggets. You know, books, sometimes it's hard to get through a book because there's a lot of words in there and we get it. So when you go through a book, it's to find the goal, right? Because the
Yes.
goal is there. And the thing that's in that book is a system. We go back to what is working. We need something that works, right? And he talks a lot about us as entrepreneurs.
Mhm.
Most of us started out working for the man or the woman. We get what he calls the entrepreneurial seizure. I'm going to do this for myself. So we say, I'm an entrepreneur with no experience. You may have that technical skills. In the book, she bakes pies well. And for you know the numbers well. But now, for me, I'm like, I'm a talker. I can talk, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you could do that thing, but now you build a business around that thing. That thing is
Mhm.
only one widget in the whole cog, right?
Yeah.
And so in the
True.
book, he really leans into getting into the mindset of building a franchisable thing. And that's really the foundation. As I said, when I first started my business officially, and I oftentimes use the word official because that's when I registered my business, right? And we strongly encourage business registration in our community because it
Mhm.
is the thing that is going to help us alleviate taxes and move in that direction, right?
Exactly.
And build something for self, family, legacy, all of that, right? There's lots of benefits to it.
Yeah.
um but in the book he talks about really being able to build a franchisable model. For myself, when I started,
Yeah.
I was doing the marketing, I was doing my bookkeeping. I was speaking, I was door knocking,
Yes.
everything. I was the staff to help me.
And you know what I find because that is me as well. It's draining, and it's
Listen, burnout is real, 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 real.
don't get me
Listen.
started.
So when I read that book, I
Yes.
understood that I needed to build a model that
Mhm.
this engine that I'm building could run without me. That
Yes.
was like a light bulb. And I mean, it's taken some years. I would say I'm still in the business,
Yes.
but I can go to sleep. I
Yes.
can get up late. I can go on trips,
Yes.
and the
And it
business
will still
works.
run.
The
And
business works.
and okay, so I love how that book was able to give you that aha moment. So when did you, from marketing, speaking, bookkeeping, everything, when did it pivot into scaling the business?
Yeah. So, and just all honesty. So, my epiphany also many years ago, I was like, I'm going to be this entrepreneur. I started and
Yeah.
I was in the business full time. I remember, and this is why I think that book landed so perfectly for me.
Hmm.
I was book solid, right? I was in schools every day, 3 to 5 classrooms for 4 months. The entire semester
Yeah.
was nailed. Guess what? Because ChrisBeth was in the classroom doing the speaking, training, all of that,
Yes.
at the end of the 4 months, there was no business. There, because who was doing the marketing? Who was doing the sales? And
Mm.
me, yes, I should have known that I should have been trying to squeeze in something, keep the funnel full. I'm wiser now, right?
Yeah.
And
But
so I went through a season where working full time in the business, realizing it's like I had to restart this engine every time for new clientele. That's
yes.
a lot of work. And so I went back into part time work,
Yes.
still maintain something. I had read the book, and really I would say the transformation happened in 2018, thereabouts,
Yes.
2017, when I was like, you know what, I'm going to put a pause on trying to get more speaking gigs and what do I want to build. And at the same time, during that time period, I was going to different co-working spaces and being part of that entrepreneurial community, just absorbing it. I was like, I have a love for real estate. I have a love for community, and to see that kind of merge, I was like,
Yes.
this is what I want to do, right? And still
Mm.
maintain where I can help people. And the rest is history. We have a physical space here in Brampton, co-working private offices. So that's another hat under the umbrella, right?
Yes.
Uh, Again, it works, and I don't have to show up. The
Nice.
the challenge, I mean, with any sort of business, and I wouldn't say it has worked perfectly.
Mhm.
People, people, people. So you got to make sure you find the right people to support you, because people like yourself and myself, sometimes we don't want to work, or sometimes the fit isn't there, right? And you understand. So I think in my own approach, knowing that I once worked corporate, I once worked in the field,
Yes.
and had this burning desire to do something more
Yeah.
out there, not at my work. I'm
Hmm.
straight up with my team. What is your vision? What are your goals? How can I leverage this time you invest here to help you get there? And we have so many people that have started businesses. We're very close friends to this day. They
Yeah.
help me
Yes.
build, lay
Yes.
foundation, so the next person that come on could do the thing, right? And I but we've also had people that were not the right people, right, to do what I needed to size up and grow. um
Hmm.
so learnings there, and turnover is part of the essence and experience as well, right? So learning to manage those things. The thing around that, though, you need, even a small business, I ask people, how did you do that thing?
Yeah.
You say, oh yeah, I just know, and click, click, click. Write it down, because that
True.
becomes your process manual. The next
That's
person you put in that role, they have something to read, they have something to do,
yeah,
they
like a
can help you.
manual. Okay, that you know what? That makes sense because I remember someone doing that, and I was like, huh. Like, why are you doing that? Like, yeah, because when I scale the business, I want to be able to give that person that book, and they'll be able to train. And it makes sense because you're training someone to work in the business, and that's how regular corporations are, right? Like, I'm pretty sure anyone that has
Listen, and if
gone,
that's what we want to build,
yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes,
it's it's
yes,
like,
yes.
ladies and gentlemen, like the folks that have been in a 9 to 5, the first 2 weeks, what do you have to do? Train.
Onboarding, you got to know those
Onboarding.
manuals, you
Yes.
got to know those things, right? So yeah, our system, the first week 2 weeks,
Yes.
study the manual. But this is everything you need to know. Do you understand? Don't you understand? And the good thing is we keep refining and getting better. Where our manuals are sitting to date, we're now doing visual. So right now it's all written step by step. So we're saying, okay,
Yes.
we understand some people are visual learners. We have recordings, we have different things to help them, right? And those are the same practices when I'm working with startups. I'm like, you got to start implementing those things early, because
Yeah.
guess what? You may, how do I turn on the lights? Something as simple as turning on the lights in the morning. People need to know, because
And
maybe they have to go in the back and around the corner, flip
true.
document it.
Yes. And you know what? That reminds me of, like, I'm pretty sure you remind folks like the steps on starting a business, because how many times have you met people, because I met a lot. And with when it comes to like the registration of a business, it's kind of wild that some folks like haven't registered their business, or they don't even have a separate account. And that was one of the things I discussed when I did the presentations with you. Was I'm like, no, 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 if you don't separate that stuff, you're it's it's like a process that you have to really think about.
Yes.
And I'm glad that you're able to educate for folks on, like, yo, when you're doing the onboarding, have this list of stuff, because you
Yeah.
never know when someone's going to need it. Because like you say, you're able to be away for 6 weeks, And if they couldn't get a hold of you, they're like, oh, hold on, I got the manual. The manual will be able to tell me like that step that I'm missing. So I like that. And what is like some of the advice, or what actually, I know that the E-Myth book inspired you to have that aha moment, but what inspired you to start everything? So was it like I'm done with this 9 to 5, or was it just something like in your family that you've witnessed it?
It's funny. I would say my entrepreneurial journey, not really, I don't think my dad, when we were in Trinidad and Tobago, sat us down and said, I'm an entrepreneur and this is what I do. I just saw my dad doing business, somebody showing up at my grandma's house, my aunt's, and money transacting, a chicken gone, this happened, somebody's going on a trip. So I feel my grandparents on my dad's side were beekeepers. So what by the time I came was growing up and stuff, they did other stuff before. But I remember seeing the bottling station, the honey. Oh my goodness, that honey was like on point as a kid. I love bees because of my grandfather, seeing my grandfather's passion around bees as well. But I would say I grew up in this entrepreneurial ecosystem, not having the language. But it was really when I came to Canada, my dad had first gotten into a business. And at 16, I followed him. He invited me. He said, let's go do this thing together. And it was there I learned about the Zigglers. I learned about the Jim Rohns and seeing these guys like Les Brown. I'm like,
Nice.
Les Brown saying, you got to be hungry. And I'm like, I am hungry. They're planning. I was 16. I'm eager. And funny enough, I would say my first kind of entrepreneurial independent venture, I wanted to go to Paraguay, South America. So travel, right? Travel motivated me to get started. And I was like, okay, what can I sell to get some money to go on this trip? So I decided to make candles at home. I almost burned down my house in my first entrepreneurial venture.
Ladies and gentlemen, if there are fire hazards when it comes to making candles, beware.
It was so fun. I mean, now we laugh, but my parents were very pissed, right? New immigrants to a country. We had someone living in our basement, not really knowing you can't have people living in your basement without them being registered and all of this stuff. And, just it was a whole thing. But yeah, my kitchen ceiling was black because I was melting the wax. But needless to say, I was able to salvage some candles. And I sold them at a craft show along with some other things. And I fundraised. I started going to people who cared about the mission that I was on, asking for money. And I got the money to go on my trip, right? And at 16. So
wow.
Yes, and actually 16. So I started that journey while I was 15 into 16 because I was 16 when I left. But my goodness, I would say I think it over the years, where I'm at now, I think having that exposure to motivational speakers, professional speakers, a desire to speak. I love talking. Although my confidence, I would say, I love doing it, but I used to get like buckets of sweat going everywhere. I recommend Toastmasters. It helps you to manage a little. But yeah, my first sets of communication was going back to youth because at the time I was a youth myself. Going into schools and telling people, you are valuable. I struggled a lot when I was younger with myself and insecurities and lies and different things like that. And I wanted to bring hope to the young people. And it just continued like, you could be your own entrepreneur. And then people started asking me how to do what I'm doing. And I'm like, I'm helping people start businesses. And my love for learning, the mentors along the way, where we are today is, definitely where I want to plant my flag, because I see how businesses can change people's lives for the bad and for the good. Okay. So I'm not here to say, go start a business and your whole life transform. It takes another level of self-discipline, personal development, and growth through this experience. There is stresses, there's things that will weigh on you, right? So
Drink
I'm
my
not
water,
here
yeah.
to drink your water and mind your own business, right? Yes. But entrepreneurship, when done well, is beautiful.
Yes, yes,
I think that clarity around the customer, the customer, the customer, the customer. Who is this for? Yes, it might be for you because you have this dream,
yes.
but you're serving people. If you have that mindset,
Mhm.
it's gonna change for you.
And I like how you were able to give back to the youths, because the fact that you were able to get so motivated at 16, you're like, oh, okay, or 15, 16, and you're like, okay, yeah, let me bun up the house and make these candles. But you had a vision, and it was based on like your mindset, your your ability to understand these your goal. You had a goal, and you're like, boom, the goal is there. I written it down. I want to be able to travel. That's what I have what it takes to actually do that. And for you to give it back to the youths is so important. And do you think that, or have you continued to give back to the youths till this
It is
day?
at
Okay.
the core of what I do. The quote by Zig Ziglar that really transform my own life, when to understand. I think sometimes, I don't know how your high school experience was, but there were bliss. I loved high school, but it also was one of the most challenging times for myself in my life. I was new to Canada. At the
Mhm.
time, Brampton was mainly white. I had
And
a
anymore.
lot of I had a lot of discrimination, a lot of racism, and I had never experienced it in that form. In Trinidad,
Culture
they
shock.
have issues too.
Yeah.
Racism is definitely a thing there. But I think when one sees value in them own selves, and when one sees purpose, I'm here for a reason. So Zig Ziglar said, you were designed for accomplishment, engineered for success, and endowed with the seeds of greatness. And that for me was a confidence boost to say, I have value, I can bring something. And so when I was energized. I saw myself as an international speaker, helping people, just encouraging them to believe in themselves because they have a God-given potential and
Yeah.
purpose for being here, right? As long as you have breath in your lungs, you have a reason to be here. I once heard a story about a guy. He was running a farm. The farm wasn't doing so well at the time, and he became like a paraplegic, not able to move. Right, like he goes from walking all of this stuff, and one would think, "Oh me, oh my, end of the world." And he went through that, like, "Oh my goodness, my life is different. Who's gonna take care of my family?" All of this stuff, and from his bed, he built a massive empire. He retransformed the farm. So who am I? Abilities, right? And
Mhm.
sometimes I think about, we all have hard stuff that we deal
Yes.
with, right? You lose someone. We were talking about that the other day. You realize your bank account is negative cents, like negative dollars. Like that's hard, right? How am I going to come out?
Yes.
You have breath, move. And so today the youth is definitely at the core of what we still do. I along with a couple of people, we started it's called the entrepreneurship innovation space for Black youth in particular.
Nice.
and really to support their entrepreneurial passions.
Yeah.
I'm speaking to youth on a constant basis. Actually,
Mhm.
next month I'll be going back to my high school. I go oftentimes go back to my high school and say,
Hey.
listen, so yes, I do believe in youth. And I think as an older sibling, I have two
Mhm.
younger sisters. I think I've been able to foster that love and passion and giving back and mentorship to my own siblings as well.
Nice. I love that because and I'm looking at the resume, and the resume is like brilliant, and giving back to the youths is really crucial because they kind of need to see the potential in themselves, because they sometimes, go down a path of uncertainty, and having someone that looks like them as well is able to give them that encouragement to keep pushing, right? And I love how you said with entrepreneurship, there's good side and a bad side. What would you say is the pros and cons when it comes to helping or encouraging um, entrepreneurs, whether it's
Yeah.
small, big, and all that great stuff?
Listen, and in that book, The E-Myth, the realization is that most of us, we have these visions, right? And
Yeah,
sometimes I don't know if you've ever experienced this. You have an idea,
yeah,
and then months later, you see your idea on the shelf, and you're like, so what I believe is that God gives, he just gives people inspiration along the way, and we formulate. Listen, it's not to say that them starting the idea and you having the idea, they steal your idea. No, think about their competition in every industry, right?
true,
But each person has their own customer. Can you find your customer, right? So
true.
I wanted to start with that. The other thing with the E-Myth, he talks a lot about most of us didn't go to school for the MBA, right? So
Mm,
that understanding the business acumen, because we have not, I will speak for myself, I don't have an MBA. But I read, actually, my sister did her MBA and I got mine by proxy. She paid the bill and I just read the textbooks, right?
thank you.
Exactly.
That's the
Listen,
best way to do
thank
it.
you. Well, lots of love. You know how it went. I'm like, but I'm living this. I'm like, what are they teaching you? Like, at this time, I was already running my business, right? So I'm
Yeah,
like, actually, in the real world, it kind of more feels like this than what they've written in this textbook, because sometimes
interesting.
people are just writing from a educated, non-experiential level. When we become
Theories.
entrepreneurs, yes, theories is the word I was looking for. When we become entrepreneurs, we're in the trenches, right? We're doing the stuff. So you may read the textbook, but
Yes.
it's important to have that business acumen. You mentioned you went to a seminar a couple of weeks ago. As
Mhm.
entrepreneurs, we must constantly be learning and growing. I oftentimes give people the example of Blockbuster and Netflix.
Ah,
Blockbuster said, everybody is going to want to walk to the corner. It's snowing today. I want to be in my house. I'm not walking to no corner to get
no,
no DVD. What are we talking about?
so true. It's and
And
that's like technology as well, right? But
yeah.
yes, continue.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah. And so the guys at Netflix, and I paraphrase, right? They showed up at Blockbuster and says, I don't believe based on the trends, because people were streaming in demand. Like it was wild at that time.
Big up
And
LiveWire.
listen, and people were streaming and they're seeing these trends and they're just like, no, the world's going to remain the same. So as an entrepreneur pro, you have to keep your finger on the pulse, the market, right?
I
We
like
talk
that.
about in 2023, it's become more accessible to everybody, AI technology in this way. And if you're not using it, my friends, to accelerate your business, you're going to be like trying to run a horse and carriage business in a downtown core, right?
Oh,
Yes, you
that's
may
a good.
find that
That's
customer.
actually great.
However, listen, however, the volume, right? Yes, summertime you go and it's like horse and carriage. I'm gonna take this ride, but not every day.
Especially
right?
if you go on
So
the 401. You can't go on the 401 with that. You know, some mud or DVP. Cheese.
listen,
I like that analogy,
you
actually.
have to. And so pro. I think you know you this level of awareness, the
Mhm,
consciousness of your customer. I talk about the customer, the consciousness of your product evolution.
mhm.
You have the ability to build a strong financial life for yourself, right? So yes, this business, and sometimes we reinvest. I tell people, and you probably have the same conversation when we talk about is my business viable, meaning is it
Mhm.
profitable, can it do the thing,
Yes.
is it paying your bills? Is it paying you a salary? Oft, and I was there, right? Everything that I make goes back in because it's like this.
Yeah.
It's like
You're just
my
adjusting to that.
exactly. My mom oftentimes say, "Are you willing to rob Peter to pay Paul?" And I'm like, "That's how it was. That cycle, right? Like there's no end." But guess what? If Peter gets paid and Paul gets paid and Chris-Beth gets paid, my business works, right? Uh,
That's very true. That's very true.
so
And that's something that is a system that you would want folks to really think about
from
because
the start, not
from the
down the
start,
road.
yes.
No, when we come to a pricing, when we look at the cost of operation, are you on that line? And if you're not on that
Mm,
line, you're not looking at true cost, right? And
mm,
so this is the thing. We want people to be conscious. Yes, I may have this. And sure,
yeah.
I like to say what we see is a lot of people doing testing of a business idea versus saying I am full on blown in this business idea. And
Mhm.
I use that kind of differentiator just because
Yeah.
when we have an idea and we say
Mhm.
I'm gonna spend money, and one of my clients, sadly, by the time they came to me, unfortunately, I couldn't help because the things that I was saying created more frustration and pain and realizing that failure was there, but they had spent over a hundred
Or
thousand
less.
dollars right.
That's a heavy lesson.
a, a big lesson. And yes, we all get those lessons, the encouragement. But they had spent over $100,000 on building a technology that nobody, and I'm saying nobody, wanted to use for free. Right? That is problematic. Right? So what happened? They missed the mark. They never tested the business idea. And I think as entrepreneurs, when we get the vision, it's to
Yes.
go forth and test,
Yes.
validate, and
Uh-huh.
then says, yes, I'm going to launch.
Okay.
Businesses oftentimes have soft launches
Yes.
to get a little awareness. Who's going to show up?
Mm.
Anybody show up? And then kind of go from there.
So with that aspect, like the testing and the soft launch, what is the I gave a tidbit because of course we want people to come to you.
Yeah.
What is the way to how do you properly test that that's the market that you're looking for? Because that 100K is kind of wild
Yeah. So
still.
imagine they had the idea, and I mean, we see it in different ways, especially now. People put up a landing page. They put
Mhm.
a small, we always recommend small dollars before you go spend big dollars on ads, right? We oftentimes promote organic before paid, anyways. Can I
Yeah.
just put up a page, show up in groups, and say, hey, my name is Chris-Beth. I got this idea. I'd love to hear some feedback. Are people clicking? Are people doing something based on your call to action? If you have no engagement, maybe you need to change your script, right? You
Mm.
got to start honing in on that niche. And sometimes, and this is one of the problems, I tell people, they come to me, my product is for everybody. And you could say that. You're in the financial industry. Everybody has money, right? But does everybody have money to pay you?
Mm.
Right? And so now it's like, yes, everybody can use my bookkeeping service.
Yes.
Let's reassess that a little, right?
Yeah.
Most people don't have the discipline to. Most people, there's a persona. If you were to think about it, you could chip away, and I say, my best client is this. This is
Yes.
who more of that is who I want to serve, right?
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
We recommend things like customer surveys. And yes, when face to face with customers, and the
Yes.
thing is, people have business ideas and they frecken. I say frecken. I don't know if you know what that word means. Frecken.
That's a
They
Trini
frighten.
word.
Yes, they frecken. They are frightened to go talk to people.
Hence the 10 by before 10 a.m.
Listen, we're frightened. And you know
Yes.
who I see it more in? Women. My female clients
Yes.
sometimes, oftentimes struggle with asking for the sale. We like to talk, we like to share.
Yes.
So I said, bring that same approach. You just bought that bag, or you just went and saw that movie. You just hit up a friend. Talk to
Yes.
people like they're your friends.
Exactly.
Um,
And then there's be
but
more
yeah,
authentic
so
as well.
landing pages. Exactly. That is the way, right? So landing pages, face-to-face
Survey.
conversations.
Okay.
People tell you, and this is where the big one is, right? So people say, "Yeah, if you make that product, I'll buy it." So then I say, ask them for money. Hey, the product is coming in 2 months. Put your
Pre-order.
money where your mouth is. And if
Mm.
people are willing to pay,
Yes.
pre-orders, if people are willing to pay, you have something. You have something.
Okay. I like that because yeah, you know what? I know someone's gonna watch this and be like, but tell you a long time. The surveys, dang, that's a good one. The surveys, call to
And
action.
in this economy, the surveys are not like people are saying low open rates and all of that stuff. People are busy to do surveys. So try to do it in a fun way. Ask a question once a week. See what the result is, right? Once a day, you get on IG, you ask a question. And yes, the momentum may not be there. But you know what? Sometimes I I was talking to a client this past week, and she's
Mm,
like, I bought this ticket to go into like one of those home shows or something. So she bought a booth. She wants to get into grocery stores across on let me be honest, across Ontario, right? So
yes,
she's like, "Oh, I want to get my product into grocery stores." So
yes,
what I did, and I'm playing the customer. So she said, what I did, I invited all of the store owners into come and meet me at the show. Do you
mm-hmm.
think store owners are coming to a show to see you? No.
Highly
As
unlikely.
she said, nobody showed up, right? And the reality is nobody would show up. And my one of my business partner just came into the room, so I'm gonna knock him. You know him, Ryan.
Run! Come to yes, man!
Yes. So I remember when I was the operation manager of Detailing Nights. So Detailing
Yes.
Nights is a mobile waterless car cleaning company, and we went to the Green Show, I believe it was. And Ryan spent money, and I said, "Man, how much you spent to get into the show? How much
Yes.
did we make?" Zero. The man spent money, right? You we met some we we met some people. But
Ryan said we met some people. If you guys
yes,
didn't hear.
listen. But guess what? His customers were not coming to that show. So we have to show up where our customers are. Right. So sometimes we're like, answer my survey, answer my survey. Are they your customer? You know,
We have to show up where our customers are.
full stop. And if you can identify where your customers are, that's where market research comes into play. I recommend every Canadian who's listening to me right now, guess what? A library card is free. Most library circuits have a business library section in there where you can get help to do market research on your own. So, what is your excuse?
Gems.
What is your excuse? Market research is at the core of all successful businesses. Each business has a research and development department for the purpose of staying finger on the pulse. Why are we not doing it from the jump when we're investing? We are the first investors. And I realized that when my business did a restart in 2019. I said, I'm going to build this business where I don't have to show up. So guess what? With one of my contracts, I got full-time employment. I could not leave my desk, but I wanted to build a business where it was running. I hired my first employee. He sat in the desk that maybe I should have been, but he sat there. He
Yes.
welcomed customers. I knew no customer, but my business was working, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
so you have to be honest with self. Yes, I have this big dream out, and people get hot and sweaty. People ask me if my idea is good. I said, it sounds good, but I'm not your customer. Because guess what? If you have a customer and they're the right customer, and Camille, you know this, the next best customer is the one you already have, right?
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And so if your customers don't have a desire to come back, you got to ask yourself,
what is
Where's
the
the
challenge, and what can I do better?
yes. And having had the opportunity to work with investors and things like that,
Yeah.
one of the questions they oftentimes ask, what is the lifetime value of that customer? And for most of us, it's that single purchase. We're like one and done.
What is
That's
that?
not
Yeah.
sustainable.
Well, you have to say that one again. You have to say that one again. What is
The
that?
lifetime value of the customer.
Value.
What is the lifetime value of your customer? And again, my mind was blown. We have a subscription. We have currently to date, as of today, we have 151 members that are subscribed to our virtual addresses. So business owners, one of the challenges, and I can tell you, when I first started my business, I used my home address. I was in the basement doing my business, and somebody showed up at the door, and my mom was like, what?
Shucks.
And it caused problems, right? Like you're now making your family and your business blur lines, and people become vulnerable.
First,
And
you burn up the place. Then you have strangers coming to the yard.
Exactly. So with our virtual membership, business owners for $35 a month can use our address as a professional address, and then they can use our space and different things like that as well. So
that's a good idea, because it brings value. It brings a different type of value to the business, and then it also brings a security, like at least someone, because everyone Googles these days, and
yes,
if they see that, oh, okay, it's actually at a building, I can trust this place, instead of seeing like, oh, this must be a house. Right? Hello,
Good day,
Ryan.
madam.
Wagwan.
Good to see you.
ACBN, who we talked about earlier,
And then we have a funny
night.
story. We have a funny story.
Hold on, is this live? Like you recording right now?
It goes live tomorrow.
Oh, okay. Good to see you, Camille.
Good to see you, Ryan. And with Ryan, we're still doing it. Well, I'm not doing the challenge anymore. I know you are, somewhat.
I found an amazing vegan restaurant. So Camille and we got to go to Vegan Delights. And
Yes.
so I've been going back to grab some vegan patties.
Yes.
What's it? The coconut and cranberry cookies, whole bowl salads.
So
What else did I
Caroline's gonna
get?
be happy
A
when
barbecue, so a vegan
Oh.
barbecue chicken wrap.
Is that out in the east?
It is. Yeah.
it's all the
And
way
a
in Whitby.
Nope, a chickpea roti.
Wow.
So shout out to Lisa. You're slowly helping me convert because it's so tasty.
Oh gosh. So no more oxtail for you?
It's been a minute. My Oxtail Hunter fans, I have to apologize. I haven't had it in a while.
Okay,
love it.
vegan Ryan.
Right.
Semi-vegan.
Skin looks good.
Okay.
See, it works. It works. It
And
definitely
apparently I've
works.
stopped snoring. So
Ooh.
some fat is clearing out somewhere.
It works. It works. And all that. So big up Energy
Yes.
Shack.
Yes,
Yes,
and you Shack too.
Thanks,
I love that.
Yeah.
But I like the lifetime value aspect, and the virtual. Yes, that's what we're talking about. The virtual address is key, and you're able to find another stream of income to keep the cash flow flowing. So that's really important. Is that something that you encourage individuals to do? Because
Yeah. Get into the subscription, right? Because
mm,
the one-off sale is great, but especially if your service or product
mm,
has that constant. So for example, I don't know that restaurant, but let's say, and what I know about a lot of startups and small business, they
mm,
do not, and restaurants
yeah,
in our community in particular, they have no way of capturing our their customers' data. So our people walk in, they buy food, they walk out, buy whatever. We need to find ways to communicate to our customers more frequently. So let's say that restaurant owner developed a relationship with you, Camille. You're a regular, maybe you're showing up every 2 weeks, once a month, you're always going in there, right? You're now that person, that owner knows you. Hey, Camille, you're coming in once a month. When you come in, guess what? I know your order. I
yeah,
have a special for you, all of those things. Every month when you come in, Camille, because I'm telling you, come in, you
yes,
I know I'm getting your money. I know I don't have to advertise. Camille, if you tell a friend, I'll give you a little extra. That's the value, right?
it,
So finding ways to systemize that customer where
yes.
they come back every single month, and whatever your business is, I believe there's a way, right? And I
That's a
don't
good
I don't want
challenge.
to I don't want to say I've nailed it, but we've explored some really good subscription models for folks to help
Okay.
them really get, because what it does, and I will tell you in my own experience, it wasn't always like this, right?
Mm,
Having that subscription
mm-hmm.
helps you stabilize your revenue and your budget on a monthly basis,
Yes,
right?
yes.
When you're like, I have to get this one, I have to get that one, I have to get that one.
Stress. Yes.
I told you this,
Stress.
today is December 1st. Happy December 1st. I love it. Today, if you are a business owner like me and you pay rent, payroll and rent is coming out today. You better have that money in the bank,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right?
They coming
So
for you. They
real,
are coming.
real things, right? Yeah, so it's important. It's
Yeah.
important.
I like that. Like I have like with I'm aware like different industries have different challenges when it comes to subscriptions or that type of revenue. I personally find that a product is a little bit easier to have people coming back regularly. Like I have brown sugar, so a coffee mask. Like I know, like at least once a month or every other month, I need to, make sure my skin look nice, right? So you know that, especially if someone loves the product, they're gonna come back. Or it's like
Yeah,
that time of the year where our skin gets ashy. So you know that someone that sells shea butter or body lotion, all that good stuff, they know they're gonna have continuous folks coming in. So I find that depending on what, if it's a service industry, it is kind of tricky. But if you have that structure of like knowing, there's gonna be subscriptions that find value with folks.
exactly.
Like once
And
they find
it's
value,
all about giving value, right?
yes,
That's why people give you even the fact sometimes you have your newsletter and you say, give me your email. We get
yes,
that data. They're giving you their email. That's
yes.
personal, right? So your newsletter better have some value for that exchange. So whatever you do, the value is at the core. Like let's hold that there. But
Yes.
most of us never ask. And if you never ask, the answer will always be no, right?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so it's interesting when you were talking about the subscription. I don't know if you know, but on not all products, but some
Right.
products, especially in the personal care line on Amazon,
Mhm.
if you and deodorant was the example that I oftentimes give. If you
Mhm.
go purchase deodorant now, it'll ask you, do you want to order this again 2 months from now? Imagine
Oh, yeah.
Amazon is implementing the subscription. So you could already subscribe. So they know cha-ching,
Planting that,
cha-ching,
planting that
cha-ching.
seed and you're
Because
ready.
guess what? Your deodorant's gonna run out. Right?
Oh wow, the fact that they say 2 months, it's like
So
they've
it
calculated.
gives you do you want it on the audit in a monthly? Like it gives you options. But
Mhm.
the point is the subscription doesn't necessarily need to be month to month. You could
Yes.
say, even if you're a service based business like yourself, Camille, and I was asking you about this the other day, it's
Mhm.
like if you have people subscribe to you as their personal bookkeeper in this way,
Yes.
listen, every month books got to be done. Right?
Exactly.
If they say, oh, I can't do my book stuff every month, okay, I'll show up every quarter. Just understand the bill's going to be a little bit more.
True. True.
Right?
Yes.
I think if, and again, we want scalability, right? So
Yes.
this is where you as the entrepreneur need to find your footing. What is scalable? Because yes,
Mhm.
we could do the business, but if the business requires you to be in there 24/7, I will say it is not a good business model.
Mm, I hear that. I hear
So,
that.
well, the encouragement is let's imagine you out of this business. How would it work? Is it scalable?
That's true. That's a great question, and that's a question that a lot of entrepreneurs need to ask. Like whether you're in the restaurant business, whether you're in the personal care business, like what is scalable, and having a team.
Yes. And try, and it's like, don't try to do it all. Yes, for a time, you are the solo founder. That means you got all of the responsibilities.
Yes.
That's a bore. That's uh, in I think Michael Gerber in the book says that is lunacy, craziness, right?
Ah,
And guess
madness.
what? Madness. And guess what? Burnout will happen. It is inevitable. It is
True.
inevitable. It's not
Very true.
maybe it will happen. It will happen. Right? You're trying to boil the ocean by yourself is not a good business to get into, right?
I like that. Whale the ocean.
Yes. Um
Oh,
yeah.
jeez.
So being honest, yes, I want to have a business.
Hmm.
Which business is going to help me get to my dreams? And I'm
Mm,
not sitting here saying I know the answer to your answer,
correct.
but I know in my own journey, I'm seeking for that for myself, right? I
Mhm.
want to be fully autonomous in the sense, listen, I give thanks, bills are being paid, growth is happening, but
Mhm.
there is I'm working on leveling up still. I still see myself now. I feel like a baby, right?
Mm,
Now I'm a baby. Let me
yes.
start getting that meat and solid so I can start running and eating, right? I had the milk. I learned a little, I grow some strong bones, but now
Yes.
now is the time to level up in a big way.
I love that. I actually, I'm loving this conversation because even though I've heard these things before, but hearing it again in a different way really hits home. Like especially with like the marketplace, the subscription. Um,
Because if you go to chase that next client, you got to
yes.
find that next client. That's work, that's energy, that's time, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you get that one client who will buy from you every single month for the next 12 months,
Mm,
and you find 10 more like them, and you find 50 more like them, and you find 100 more like them, and you find 1,000, you just have to work in. I tell people entrepreneurship is about numbers. I failed grade 10 math, but I took and yeah, I slacked off. Listen, actually I got 49, I think, in the class, and I was
woo!
supposed to take summer school that year,
Yeah.
and no one in my family had ever gotten chicken pox, and my younger sister came home with chicken pox and give it to the whole house, so I never got to make up my 2 weeks to get over my 51, right? So I point to her and I was like, yes, I go down as somebody who, fail. So I decided, listen, I don't have any need for math. And, it was a bad mindset as a kid, Math is challenging, but the math that I took that changed my life. And I think I got 91% in that math. And I feel like everybody needs to take that math in high school. It's
Yeah.
math for everyday living. I learned about taxes. I learned how to read receipts. I learned about different math for everyday life. Because if you hated math in school, trust me, you need math today in your day-to-day living.
We
That's
don't need
where
the algebra and stuff. Well, some
no
people do, but the math for everyday.
everyday living, and that's what gets missed as well. That's why we don't have that financial literacy. That's where our financial acumen is in the gutter, right? So math for everyday living. As a business owner, you may not have done well in math. If your story is like mine, we failed math. It's okay. It's not the end of the world. Clearly, we're still alive today. So failure is part of the equation, and whether it's failing at math in grade 10 or failing at your entrepreneurial venture, it's all learning, for the process of learning, hoping that you don't repeat the same stuff. A friend said to me, she recalled a story of a guy. She was giving wisdom to a guy and telling him, consider a different path because the path you're walking down isn't good. And he said, ma'am, I appreciate you. You know what I will do? I'll take your wisdom and add it to my wisdom and I'll be wiser. So I invite people to learn from the failures of others and take their wisdom and add it to your wisdom and become wiser, right? So
Facts.
it's so important.
Yes. I actually, that's one thing, like, it's funny you say that because some of the things that I have learned was based on other people's mistakes, even though I've made mistakes as well.
Sign me up
Or
for that. I've been signed up for that class, right? I don't think if you live a life and you have no failures, no mistakes, none of that, you probably ain't living.
right? That's true. That's true. And then so there's some folks that are willing to take more risk and lessons. But I definitely like to look at other people's mistakes and mistakes and lessons and find a way to kind of wiggle myself not to get into that scenario, right? And that is also key. And I'm really glad that you were able to take that class because I think one of the things that we talk about like in high school is like, yo, they never had a course. I think we only had like a week talking about personal finance, right? So I really stress on like things like that. Like I wish there was these were the things that we learned before, and I'm hoping like entrepreneurs think about that as well. And it reminds me when you said that your sister took the MBA. How important is it for folks to have that like business mindset when it comes to starting a business? Because I'm that same person. I always hear people be an entrepreneur, be your own boss, and I'm like, I'm cool with that because yes, not everyone wants to be a 9-to-5er, but at the same time, every business needs an employee.
Hey, I never knock the employee. Listen, I consider myself a very valuable player on teams that I signed up to be an employee for, and understanding that I am building a business where I want employees. And so I have met very professional people who don't have the stamina, or out of their own words, they can't see themselves as the boss, and that's okay. We're not all designed to be in the same role, right? You have parents, mothers, fathers, you have children. Everybody have a different role. It doesn't make them less than. So I never knock the employee, right? And I remember I used to say job is just over broke, whatever, all this stuff. And there may be, but there's some rich people holding JOBs. The problem is they know how to manage their finances. You find entrepreneurs don't even know how to manage their finances, right? So it's not necessarily the role you play. We all have different roles. I
Correct.
see myself as an entrepreneur. I build a team. I have people on my payroll, right?
Mhm.
I value my employees because I know I cannot do it without them, right?
Correct.
But for that person, and as I told you, I asked my team, "What is your dream?" Because I know what it was like to be in a job and thinking, "I'm doing this for the next how long?" And you're dreading it. You like you get to a point where like I have enough. I want to do this something for myself. Some
Yeah.
people that passion burns bad.
Mhm.
I've been
Mhm.
there.
Yes.
I've been there, right? For some people, that's not them, and that's
Mhm.
okay.
Mhm.
So the mindset that I encourage employees to take on, even here,
Yes.
yes, we have manuals, we have operational stuff, but you're not, maybe not everything. So the question they're coming to ask me, ChrisBeth, what should we do about this? I say, think on your own, right? I'm
Mhm.
not always going to be there. So the word entrepreneurship, yes,
Mhm.
belongs to us as founders. But the
Yes.
word entrepreneurship invites employees to think like entrepreneurs within the context of where they work. And that's who I love to work with,
Yes.
right?
I like
Um,
that.
so I never knocked the job and understand what I did in my comeback to this space where I'm at today
Mhm.
is I saw myself as my first investor in my business. And that
Mm.
being said, I understood that the business was going to be viable, right? I
Yes.
needed to start. I made an investment, things worked well. I
Yes.
was investing my time, I was investing my dollars, I was investing my knowledge and skill set in that way.
Yes.
If you have a formula and you've tested it, I go back to the test to
Testing. Yes.
validate to be in this point where you're saying, listen, I I want to start scaling.
Mhm.
Scaling requires tools and people to help you, right? So if you don't have people, and you hear people, the single billionaire and all of these things, millionaire, whatever, they probably outsourced, right? Maybe they didn't manage that whole payroll piece, but you have to learn the skill of working with people, right?
Mhm.
And even Camille, if you worked for me, it
Mhm.
was, yes, you're your own business owner, but you're still reporting to me because you're on my books. So
True.
people sometimes get it messed up. When we become entrepreneurs, we now have a million bosses. All of those customers are you showing up? Are you doing this thing?
Yeah. You know what's funny that you say that is because I've felt like that before. Like there's times when I hear people like, "Oh, I don't want to work for anyone, I'm working for myself." Hold on. If you have clients, and sometimes the clients are very demanding. That is
Listen,
more demanding than
your
like
boss. Thank you. Thank you. You go from one boss to many bosses. Like people sometimes don't understand what they sign up for. And now these people, your customers, have the ability to tarnish your reputation on a public stage. Your
Mhm.
boss would just take you to HR and fire you. These people now want blood and vengeance. I mean, I give God thanks. I haven't had any of those, but some clients have come to me with such
This
feedback,
is
right?
Spartan. That's very true. And okay, so is that something you teach folks as well on minimizing that type of not minimizing that type of behavior from customers or clients, or minimizing that negative reputation of your business, because that's important, because we all love those referrals that tell people like, yeah, yo, Cam and Chris Beth is wicked, you gotta check them out. But once you get a bad review,
Yeah.
oh, it's like it drops your credibility like
Yeah.
10 times. So
Yeah.
what's the one way that you try to help folks figure that out?
Yeah, I think customer management is a beast unto itself, right? That's why you would have, like, from the start, when we think about the customer journey, where do
Mhm.
they see us? Where
Yes.
do they decide to make a decision with us? When do they convert? How do we treat them and deliver to them? How do we retain them as a customer? We must think through all of those. And the beauty is when you have that customer or potential group of customers, you can help use their voices and their minds to create that system as well. So the topic there is customer journey mapping. It's important to map that out, right? And so customer
journey
mapping, yeah. So it is a marketing terminology. You could look it up. The stuff is there. So when we work with a client, looking at that end to end, because sometimes I'll tell you this, we think, oh, I'm just gonna put on that landing page or website and they're gonna buy from me. Then what? Right? We have to think about it throughout throughout their entire lifespan. I go back. What is the lifetime value of your customer? And if you could retain that customer and put them into some sort of loyalty or some sort of thing, that is added value to your business. That now becomes an asset, right? Mm-hmm. But in the relation to your question specifically, we cannot, again, somebody once said, the problem with families, it's people. But the good thing about families is the people, right? So you can't sometimes choose, I want this family, I don't want this family. You can't say I want this thing and not this thing. But with a customer, there's some ways to mitigate. Again, is this the right customer for me? Do they have the ability to pay? That's one of the first questions, right? One, do they see the value? Yes. Do they have the ability to pay? And what is that personality like, right? And so part of we've done our best. We continue to refine the process. You learn and you grow through it. I give God thanks. We have not had any of those customers to date. Yes. But the same way you onboard your team is a similar process to onboard your customer, clarifying needs and expectation from the jump. That scope of work outline has to be crystal clear. Do you understand A? Do you understand B? Sign off to it. The one thing that I realize that entrepreneurs sometimes don't, and I mean, I'm talking here from the perspective of a service type based customer relation, is that they don't check in on those goals. So the months pass and it's now, oh, here are your deliverables, bye-bye. And they're like, but I didn't get what I want, because they forgot what they wanted actually sometimes, right? And so you can mitigate that with interval check-ins, right? Hey, what is the feedback? Do you like where we are? Are we moving in the right direction? All of those things that help you progress in that way. And from there, you're now able to say, okay, job well done, John's job just baseline side. Customer feedback is important. We actually did 2 membership giveaways today. And part of that, we wanted to hear from our customers. We want the good, we want the bad, we want the in-between, because our objective is taking that feedback, identifying the things that we're doing well so we can improve, and identifying areas of improvement. I tell people, do not be ashamed or scared of bad feedback. I in this point, I do agree with Trump, right? He said, bad press is good press. to some extent. There's some stuff there, right? Yeah. Meaning, even if you get bad review, you now have an opportunity to acknowledge the fault and say we will do better, right? And if our objective is to do better, we do better, right? So maybe that incident happened at the beginning of the year. And you scroll, people keep scrolling. They don't see that one point ever mentioned again because you addressed it. Yes. Right? And so the point is, we are humans too, right? And sometimes we fluctuate like this. And, females in particular, let me go with ChrisBeth in particular. Sometimes I am high, I'm low, I'm in between, all of the above, right?
Same. As you can see, the meditation, I try to,
Listen, We need to calm down. But yes, but the important thing is, as human, we have to show grace and space to ourselves, and similarly to our customers, right? So we're gonna mess up, and understand, if you think you're living in a perfect world and you're perfect, you got it wrong off the bat. Even when you're wanting to deliver and start, I see a lot of people stick because they don't start their stuff. They
Yes.
think, what is the saying? The saying is, done is better than perfect, because perfect never gets done, right? And so the same thing, perfection for us is not a reality, right? Perfection is just something that is going to it's not real, it's not reality, right? And
Yeah.
so it's important for us to get started
Yes. Execute.
with quality,
Mhm.
get executed, and then being able to move from there, right? So my invitation is, accept criticism to some extent.
Mhm.
Sometimes they're naysayers, and I like it's The Man in the Arena by
Which one? Which one?
The Man in the Arena by Theodore Roosevelt. In his speech, he says the critic is not in the arena. So the critic just says, "Oh, that person sucks. Oh, that person." So don't pay attention to the critic, because the critic might have never even purchased anything from you per se, right? But the person
Mhm.
that has purchased something from you,
Yes.
let them out, right? And see if you can do better to raise the standard, raise the quality. But apart from that, don't
Yes.
listen to the naysayers, right? They
Yes.
like, don't do that because of all of this stuff.
That's true. Because that's what happens with a lot of entrepreneurs. Like the entrepreneurs that decided not to do it is because of the folks that never have done it and said, no, it can't be done. Right. So I definitely understand that concept. And I think the one thing or a couple things I'd want to say is to pivot into, what are three things you wish you knew about personal finance before?
Well, let me drink some water and mind my business. Okay. So three things.
Mm,
I wish I knew. So I'll go, I mean, generations, right? I wish my grandfather and his grandfather and
mm,
all grandparents had stronger financial literacy, that it would have gotten to us from younger, right? So, and
mhm.
part of that is simply, I think the concept and principles were taught along the way,
Yes.
but a system around financial literacy as a whole.
Mhm.
What is money? How do I value this? How do I manage money? Money management is huge.
Yes.
I think one of the things that I wish I knew earlier, just about savings. I feel like, not that I am a spender, and I more buy travel than things. I love experiences, right? So my money would go into that, and food. I looked at my incomes, my banking recently, and I think when we talked, I told you $300 went to food. So food gets my money.
Not
And so
Uber Eats, I hope, because Uber Eats is ridiculous these days. Chuh.
yeah, yeah. Actually, I haven't done a whole lot in that way, like food wise. I think I cut down food a little
I
since
see.
our conversation. Um, but yeah, how to do a budget. I think budgeting, I wish I knew budgeting earlier. And then the
Mhm.
last one was just around investing. Um,
Yes.
yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think, part of it, and in my own journey, I've had a negative bank account once early on in my journey. I
Mhm.
was deep in debt. And I got a huge wake up call in particular when I got into a car accident. I almost thought I thought I went to heaven and I saw Jesus. And I it was in that season I started thinking, man, my life could have ended, and there's burial. We live in Canada. My parents, I'm living with my parents still at that time. And I'm like, whose responsibility is it? I know that they are new immigrants, so there's a lot happening there already. But for me, it was the first time I started looking into life insurance. And I do believe there's a place for life insurance. And we have to know these things, right? I remember hearing a story about a guy who got life in three policies to himself. So one was he had a policy. I think 3 policies or something to that effect. Anyways, one was for this generation, one was for the next generation, one was for the generation after.
Wow.
And when he died, 3 generation, and I think I had met the person on the 4th generation. They're singing. Old money never dies, my dad tells me.
Wow. That's really important, because I don't think I've heard that before. But I love those things that you've said, because, and I tell folks each and every time, the same thing happens for everyone. It's the importance of savings, of budgeting, learning more about financial literacy, and investing. And the life insurance is important as well. I was watching Dr. Vibes this morning, and Wayne Harris was like, "Minna support no GoFundMe's," especially with the importance of life insurance, and he does life insurance. So I hope folks that are listening really considers life insurance, especially when you have like a near death situation. Knock on wood. You definitely want to put that in situations like you said. Wow, my family would have been in turmoil if I didn't. If this was the last breath, right? So that's really important for folks to know. Like, do I really want
to? Even doing it young, right? I think, because the truth is, and even like those type of thing, life insurance and stuff, when you get insured young, you don't have to insure when you're older again, because you're, at that time you have a rickety arm. They want to say, now we don't cover you for this. You're back out. They say, what kind of symptoms you have back there? We can't cover you for that. So the best time to get it is today, right?
Exactly.
In your current state. And listen, yes, it may be money out of your pocket on a monthly basis. And I heard about this book recently that I'm about to order. It is called Be Your Own Banker. And the guy, I mean, it's a radical approach to money and finances. But imagine if I remember when I was saying, imagine if you didn't owe anybody any money. I remember when I paid off my debt, I walked into TD and I said, bye. Actually, I used to have some very bad experiences at that particular banking institution. However, I was really, when I'm debt free,
nice.
And amazing. Now you have a mortgage, and you feel that gauge again around your no. But
I knew exactly what it was.
And in this economy, listen, in this economy. But when for my finances, so the one tool I would say that really gave me insight to be better financially sound and starting to develop my acumen was Dave Ramsey's Financial Peace. I don't know if you're familiar with the content.
Baby steps.
The baby steps. Listen, but this is where life discipline. And I'll tell you, the discipline, I've fallen off the bandwagon. I was just talking to someone. I'm going back on that thing because it helped me so much,
Sure.
right? I snowballed my debts. And
Yeah.
I became debt free, people. Like, and then I was like, okay,
That's
I'm debt free.
healing.
Then what? Now I gotta keep doing the investment, listening, and building. So I
Hmm.
just stumble on become your own banker. And this guy, again, things in common, using biblical principles to say, there's a proverb that says, the borrower is slave to the lender. Aren't we tired of being slaves? Right? And when we may not have the shackles and the chains, but
Yes.
we're slaves here. I oftentimes talk about mental slavery. When we have this defeatist type of mindset, we have to become overcomers by getting right with ourselves, our God, and our finances as one of the assets that we're building, right? So it's really important.
That's you hit it on the nail. It's I I know, like right now with the economy, it seems hard. Like I suggested to someone, I was on another podcast and I was mentioning whether you should pay off your debt or to save. And I said, you can kind of do both. I know it's an unpopular opinion, but once you start doing both and you see your savings going up and your debt going down, you're still winning. And it's such a relief
Yeah.
once you're able to pay off your debt. Like
Yes. Yes.
it's and I want people to hear this. Like, actually, I would do a challenge like that for folks, is to do the Dave Ramsey challenge, like the baby
The
steps.
baby steps.
First $1,000.
First $1,000, and then you begin, paying off the lowest debt first, and you're
Mm,
just, and it's interesting. It's kind of reverse, right? He's like, they say, shouldn't you pay off the one with the lowest interest first or whatever, right? But the truth is, go for quantity over that little interest, right? Because guess what? When he says, when you see you get your first win, and that was my experience. Listen, my first debt done, right?
you're like,
Then you
ooh,
take you have a party celebration, and
exactly.
then you take that amount that you were putting and put it onto the next one, and you'll see you start going down faster and faster.
Hmm.
Then he starts getting into the savings, right? You
Yes,
want to get that emergency fund set aside, because guess what? Life emergencies are going to happen.
every damn day. Something happens every day
Every day,
or
every day.
every week. I'll say
Listen,
there's
it may not be your day, but in somebody's day, they're having an emergency day. Every day, an emergency happens.
exactly, like, I bet I could put money on this, that there's no one that has not experienced a dilemma that they've said, shucks.
And trust me, if you haven't experienced it, it's coming.
It's coming, trust me.
And listen, the Bible says, then and then they build, and I paraphrase the script, they kind of skipped me now, but it says the rain came. It's not if the rain comes, it's when the rain comes, are you going to be on that rock or on sand, right? So the emergency fund is set
Mhm.
aside to be this. Listen, when we're
Safety net.
building this foundation on not sand, on rock, right?
Yeah.
We know the rain is coming.
Yeah.
Nobody expected a pandemic. No, none of us, but we all went through it. The question and the statement is, what kind of boat were you in? how, how was it for you?
Mm. What kind of boat were you on? Shucks.
Or what
I,
kind of foundation? What people were losing their jobs, right?
Mhm.
You were a non-vaxxer, they didn't want you in that door.
Mhm.
Okay, that's the hill that you were willing to stand on, but who's paying your bills, right? Imagine we had to wait it out, right? six
Yes.
months, a year, all of this stuff happened, right?
Mhm.
We don't know why, but we all know that we went through it, right? Whether it's a people say scamdemic, pandemic, it happened.
Mhm.
Did you
And
survive? Did you come out stronger? And
yeah.
one of the evidence of that is the financials. What were your books like? And yes, emergency fund is to sustain us during an emergency, so
Mhm.
we expect it to go down a little, right? Did you
Exactly.
even have that to go down on? Right? And so I'm telling you, I'm back on Dave Ramsey
Yes.
because it helped me then. And I realized that I need a new mindset as I'm going forward in this life. And
Yes.
the thing about finding a tool or a program like that, you
Yes.
need to become disciplined with yourself. And in the area of finance, it is so important and imperative. It's not a must. It's not no. It's not a maybe. It's a must. It's not a I should do this thing. You need to do this thing. As I'm talking to you, I'm talking to myself. I'm like,
No, that's
2024 is
why I'm
around the corner. You want to travel more? You got to get more money, right? You got
Mhm.
to get your stuff in order. But don't just be spending. Listen, I want where my businesses are established and
Yeah.
they be paying for my trips. Okay.
Hey, or having what's the word? A cash producing or yeah, cash producing assets that will give you the ability to have the lifestyle you want.
Yes, listen, the philosophy, you don't kill the golden goose, right? And that's my thing. You focus on eating the eggs of the eggs.
Hey, exactly. Exactly. Let make your money work for you and
Exactly.
build more babies and things. And I know we've been having a great conversation and like we could go for hours, trust me. What are other avenues that you're working on currently that the
Uh,
people can know unless it's a hush hush thing?
yeah. I the new one, and if you are an entrepreneur looking, I would definitely love to get your feedback. I am working on a digital tool to help
Mm,
transform how entrepreneurs make decisions in their business.
okay.
Basically, you and I know, and we
Mhm,
talked about this. The landscape of an entrepreneur,
mhm.
even when you take that CEO position, you
Yes,
still need that bird's eye view of all of the stuff,
true.
right? It doesn't mean that you need to be doing the thing, but you need to be in the know. And
Yes.
when you're not in the know, when you start abdicating responsibilities, and he talks about that in the email, I tell you, go back to that book.
Me gonna find it. I swear it's literally 10 steps away from me. I
No,
kid you not.
everybody, I go back to that book. You cannot abdicate your responsibility as a CEO. If you're a
Mhm.
parent, you know you can't abdicate the responsibility. And when I say, if you're not familiar with that word, it just give up your responsibility. You turn a blind eye to your child. Oh, they could do whatever.
Yeah.
No, this is your home. This is your business, right? So you need to be in the know. What is happening? So the tool Entrescope is going to be a tool to help entrepreneurs navigate and understand the entrepreneurial journey. And where we're starting, Camille, it's
Mhm.
your favorite space
Ooh.
with the numbers. Oftentimes, what we see, entrepreneurs get financial statements, right?
Yes. Yes.
And Camille, how many of them know how to interpret it?
Gosh.
Give me a number.
Honestly,
Give me a number. Out of 100, how many?
10%.
Okay, so 10 people, and I'm sure there's variation of that 10
Yeah.
still.
And I'm being nice.
Listen, I believe you.
I'm being
I
nice.
I would have been
Mhm.
having had, in the past couple years, really trying to understand, and I'm
Yes.
still learning. So I'm gonna say I would be in that don't know category, and that's a shame. I today I
Mhm.
feel like I'm in the know a
Yes.
little better, right? I feel like I'm still learning,
Yes.
but it's okay. because life is about learning. As long as you're committed to the journey of learning,
True.
you end up in her 10%, right? So I will still today I'm in your 10%. Ask me that question 5 years ago, and I would have been in the who? What?
90.
What does Chris know?
Huh? What is the and
Yes. And
and
so
that goes back, sorry, that goes back to education. And there's a lot of people, they want to be the CEO, and just like you said, they want to be the CEO, but they don't want to learn their business. So I'm
yeah.
glad that
Yeah.
you're adding that aspect.
Yeah. So
And
the
I'm looking at it right now.
using AI, machine learning, and the support of people to be able to um, read those financial statements, give
Yes.
outputs and give insight into the next best decision, the next best step, the next best action they should take to move their business forward. It provides them with a health score,
Yes.
whereby they will be able to know where their business is.
Yeah. Me gonna join just now.
Hey, I appreciate it. We'd
Yes,
love
man.
your feedback.
Just don't. I'm joking. I'm joking. Yes, absolutely. Like you know me. I'm all about supporting um the community and also the folks that I know. I really focus on that. So I love how you're dabbling into the tech world because I know we have to we AI is coming. And it's either we're going to have the horse and carriage,
We
or we're
have
gonna have the 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 flying car or spaceship, whatever next thing is gonna happen. Like we have to learn how
listen.
to adapt.
Yeah.
Because
Yes,
that's
yes,
key.
yes. And when so you use a word that I used to say, I'm
Mhm.
dabbling. Dabbling is
Mm.
when you're testing. So yes, I'm in the
Ah,
testing stage.
yes,
Is my
yes, yes.
business viable, right? I
Mhm.
would encourage that word versus dabbling, because this comes back to
True,
the hobby
true,
thing
true.
or
Yes.
the business thing, right? And I'll be honest, my business,
Mhm.
I'm still involved. Not a lot. I can be away from the office, all of that stuff. So I give God thanks. We continue to grow. My
Yes.
hope over the next couple months is that this engine should
Yes.
not require me at all, because the technology is where I want my focus to be, right? And looking at that
Exactly.
transition and change over the next couple.
That's actually, and you're right with not saying dabbling, because you've done the testing. I appreciate that, and I'm excited for the journey that you're about to have, because yeah, that's the goal, is be anywhere that you want to be and be able to still have the business running, regardless
Yes.
whether you're working or someone's doing it for you.
Yeah.
That's definitely, I know for sure that with scaling, I definitely want to add people to the team. It's just people hate bookkeeping. People
But
hate
there are
book.
lots of people who love numbers. There's a lot
That's
of
true.
they're out there. Again, if you're looking to the same way you're trying to find that right customer, you got to find that right team, right? So if you do like a litmus test. Oh, do
Yes.
you love numbers? Don't numbers? Automatically no.
On to the next.
Yes. Literally, that's what you got to do until you find that next level of numbers. You find the next person who geeks out about numbers, right?
True. True. Because the
Listen,
way
they're
I
there.
think over it, it's wild. But I do, that's true. Like even doing collaborations and like having partnerships, that's ideal. And I just want us to have a funny story before we wrap up, because the last time we saw each other was, I don't want
In
to.
the
Oh yes, yes. No, no, no. Before imagine that. Like I'm glad I'm so recognizable to the point where I could be covered, VS covered everything. People are like,
I didn't hear you snoring. You were taking
Big heavens! I talk in my sleep, but I don't snore really.
you were taking a snooze in a corner, and I was like, I know that person. Camille.
Oh, man. And I
You're
was
like,
not that time, not that time. When the ACBN had the symposium in
Yes.
February.
yes.
You just told, and I want folks to hear this funny story.
So I am sitting across Andre Smith and Camille Smith. And I was like, it's nice to see both of you in the same space in my mind, all of this stuff. And so at the time, a couple months prior, ACBN was having a financial literacy program. And we had worked with Camille and then worked with Andre on separate times on our journey prior. But for the last one, I wanted both of them to come. So Andre had messaged me saying, my wife is pregnant and she's having a baby and all of this stuff. So I had sent a communication to Camille, and sorry, sometimes I'm not always on point with my email. So Camille might have messaged and it got buried, right? But I was now talking to Andre Smith and he said, my wife is pregnant. Me thinking that Andre Smith and Camille Smith are husband and wife. So I was like, okay, I don't need Camille's out. Andre, you take the other, and we had gotten someone else. And so when I met you looked great. And I said, how is the baby?
And I said, huh? Not. And
yes. Because they were both sitting in front of me, and at this conference, I was like, okay, so they, away from their kid and stuff. So I said, how is the baby? Not knowing it is not you.
Shout out to Andre, my brother from another mother.
Yes.
This is the busting out that happens with the same last name.
Yes.
But that, you know what? But I know you've had that same experience because you're wherever Ryan is mostly. You're there too because you're the co-founder of ACBN. So
Yes.
I totally get that. I think like from the jump when we had the podcast, we had to mention like, "Ooh, no. We're not related in any way. We're just like, same last name." So that story cracked me up.
Yes. And imagine, I told the whole team, I said, Camille Smith is pregnant. Do not disturb. It's okay. Andre will handle it. Like,
wow.
Yeah.
Can you yo?
I apologize.
No worries. Imagine if you had posted it somewhere.
Congratulations to Camille Smith. Listen.
Boy. But ChrisBeth, honestly, this conversation has been amazing.
Yeah, I appreciate
it.
Myself.
How can the folks find you? OMG.
So the easiest space is at empoweredforex.com. If you were to go to our website, there's an option to connect with me there. But my email is ChrisBeth.Cowie@empoweredforex.com. And if you call our phone number, 905-497-8200, we will be here to help you, meet with you, all of that stuff. So yeah, this was powerful, Camille. Your vibe, your passion,
your passion and vibes as well.
So two fires meet, ignition, exactly. We're not burning down houses literally,
No burning down houses.
But
the fire and passion.
Yes, this was amazing, and I appreciate the questions that you asked. It also helped me to be very reflective of my own journey, and I hope whatever was shared here today, find the nugget. And you were touching on learning from the lessons of other people. And my friends, I talked about that library card. The lessons are in the books. We have to be readers, whether it's e-reading or physical. Get the book, read the book, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so I continue to, sometimes reading feels hard, sometimes it's easy, depending. Sometimes, the words don't ignite you, but I tell you, when I pick up books and I'm hooked. I
Mm.
gotta finish that book. I'm going to bed and I'm like, you know.
Yes. Yes. I
um,
I honestly feel like that. There has been some books that I've read, and I'm like, you see it bent up. The other day when I was on Instagram, I showed like the top books that I've read and I really liked. And dang, I really had to find the E Myth because I know I read it. I know Christopher
yeah,
is gonna
yeah.
listen to this. He's like, yes, that's the one we were talking about. So it's really important to get a library card and really read, whether it's reading, ebook, audiobook, or like YouTube,
The
and
physical
just,
book, all of it.
yeah,
Yeah,
just find a way because everything is actually written in the books. You don't have to create a new wheel.
yes, and even like this, your podcast and things like that. Yeah, it may be an hour or however long it is, but
Mhm.
if you listen through and you could find one nugget, like that one nugget could revolutionize your whole life. I told you, I read that, and like it is the book that I tell every. You
Yeah,
need to know something about business.
yeah.
Start there, right?
Mm,
This is all of the components you need to get in check, and
mm.
then you could tell me you're ready to be a CEO.
Okay. Actually, yeah, you know what? And I have that challenge too. I'm in a options trading group, and the first task was to read a book. And it shows the self discipline and
Yes,
the personal growth and development of like
yes,
staying that lane. If
yes,
you don't have the discipline to read these books or even take in the lessons,
yes. Yeah,
gee,
and
oh,
most of us, and I'm guilty, right? And I'm always trying to refine. I love personal development. We're undisciplined people, right? Like our nature, we just want to get up whenever, do whatever, you know. But the point of us being here to achieve things in our life is
yeah,
that we must commit to being disciplined. If you want to see your life revolutionize, and I'm on this journey, I can't say that I have it all figured, but I'm telling you, I'm trying to, be in that gym, and it's hard.
let me have to look for my waist right now. Yeah,
Listen, it's hard.
yes.
And but the thing is, it is necessary that we commit,
Hmm.
right? And the reason why friendships, marriage, all of these things break up, business, all of this stuff is because our discipline to be committed to a thing because of this thing, all the distractions, the shiny thing, we don't know how to stay the course, right? You read Jim Collins' Built to Last. Those companies that have lasted hundreds of years, 80 years, 60 years, it wasn't just a feeling, right?
Hmm.
They went in deep. They went in not wide. They had a single core product, a focus. And that's why I'm challenging myself.
Hmm.
I need to refine this ship, right? Because it is the only one we got, right? And so if exercise is part of maintaining a good lifestyle,
Yeah,
guess what? I got to do it. It's not an option. And I get lazy
exactly.
and all of this stuff, the excuses. One of
Yeah.
my mentors
Even
says,
if you can
ChrisBeth,
do one, two
you're
push
giving
ups.
me reasons or
Mm-hmm.
excuses. You're giving me reasons or results, right? I have a reason why this isn't working, every excuse, or you're showing me the results. So when I ask you, how many customers did you talk to over the past week? What are you
Yeah.
going to tell me?
Mm.
Right? Oh, I couldn't. Okay, then what are we doing?
Actually, I
Do
like
your
that
business.
challenge. Walan. I love that idea. I want that challenge for folks. I think this is right now we're going to have a challenge, and this is for whether it's for the month of December, because challenges are hard for people. I think whether it's a personal challenge or entrepreneur challenge, really set a goal. Well, I guess we could speak for the entrepreneurs. Pick a number. Pick your favorite number. And that's the number that that's either going to be your daily or your weekly of how many people you have to reach out to and see how it goes. And then you know what? You have to message us. You have to tag us on Instagram. So hold on, let me show you. So you have to tag us on Instagram. Or I know a lot of people write to me private message, but I want to see it. I actually want to see, and I will do it too.
I'll sign up as well.
Exactly, because we had to practice what we preach.
Yeah,
I had to think of a number. I'll think of a number, and
if your number is below 10, I will say this: if your number is below 10 for the day, it should be a daily, and if it's above 10, it could be acceptable as a weekly.
Okay. We see, folks, there you have it. So this is our challenge to y'all, because at the end of the day, we want to help everyone have self-discipline. And I was told this the other day. Waking up early is hard. Going to the gym is hard. Being broke is hard. Being financially irresponsible is hard. Choose the hard that you can handle. I don't know about you, but I could choose the hard of working out and being consistent. So that's how I want to wrap up things. And ChrisBeth, I'm so glad. Like I'm so glad it came to the dentist incident, but just like us communicating throughout the year and just like, hey, we have let's link up. So I'm so happy we did this, because you've given so many gems. Sorry, the teachers and the chat's gonna hear me. You've given so many gems, and I really appreciate it. And folks, make sure you follow, please. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and tell a friend to tell a friend. If you want to scale up your business, ChrisBeth is your woman. Oh, and on that note, folks, we are out of here.
Financial literacy, knowledge is a must. So link the flip boss, watch the result flash, and watch your life change and feel a better cause. You have a business or a plan and want to make it. Yeah, flip and floss, or they want to manifest it. Yeah, and if you want to better manage all your credit, call the boss. Flip and floss, no doubt, then we do it. Yeah, flip and floss, money literacy boss. Yeah, greatness in our blood because we're working for your cause. Flip and floss, money literacy boss. Yeah, boots up your knowledge for your minimal cost. Hey, yeah, flip and floss, money literacy boss. Greatness in our blood because we're working for your cause. Flip and floss, money literacy boss. Yeah.